What's up, fam? It's the Broke Capitalist coming at you on this happy Thomassowell Friday. And I hope you're looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to it for a while. I was looking around the internet trying to find more reactions to Thomassowell videos. And I came across this gem, the title anyway, African versus African American. And just so happened, I did a video last Thomassowell Friday on immigrants without agency, and it kind of ties into this subject without giving this away. And it definitely, this subject matter definitely ties into what these guys will be talking about. This book by Thomassowell, Race and Culture. So although we're not going to focus on the reactions to Thomassowell, aka somebody being red pilled, we are going to talk about what he talks, what they're going to talk about, what he talks about, and what I talk about quite often. So we're going to get into this. I'll give my 2 cents along the way. Definitely comment, be nice. I'll try and get to any questions you have when I can, but here we go. Like, share, subscribe, and all that too.
From Africa, I came here to better my life, and I feel like personally we need to stop using the word racism when we don't get something or when something don't go our way. Just
let me jump in real quick. No disrespect, but racism exists, and I have to acknowledge it. And I can't just ignore it, but what I can do is not buy into the system.
One of the greatest quotes I ever heard was from General Colin Powell. And in his book, he said, hey, I'm paraphrasing, African-American, basically not white, and you climbing the charts in the military, how did you deal with racism? His response was, I ignored it. This dude was, I don't know this dude from Adam and Eve, but this dude's response was, this African guy's like, man, look, let's just get past this racism thing. Let's just keep going, whatever. Hold it. No, I got to keep racism in your face.
Step forward if you agree. Slavery affected my family.
Yeah, I mean, that's just evident in my last name, King. I mean, that's the brand of the slave owner that put that name on my family all those years ago, and I'm still wearing it in those ways, along with the compounded, economic disparity, social disparity, mental trauma, all of that. I mean, it's tethered forever.
So to go back to slavery and talk about post-traumatic stress disorder, it has never stopped. So there is no post. What my great-grandparents were teaching my grandparents, who taught my mother, who taught me, came from what they learned through slavery. So there's a lot of fear, a lot of insecurity, a fear of society, a fear of law enforcement. So slavery has made a major impact where the low self-esteem is consistently reoccurring. I think for me, growing up in Los Angeles, California in the early 1960s, there was a stereotype that I didn't want to be Black. I didn't want to be African because we come from Africa or we're slaves. So I want to be a Chinese boy. I want to be Bruce Lee. So growing up like that, I didn't like myself and who I was. I didn't like the color of my skin or the way that I spoke. So I emulated other people. I wanted to be something that I was not.
I wonder if this applies to other people. He's apparently a little older than me, but I want to be Bruce Lee too. Everybody wanted to be Bruce Lee. Jews, whites, Japanese people. How do you go from I want to be Bruce Lee to I don't like myself? I think that's a strong leap. However, that's his experience. But he don't represent everybody's experience. I just want to put that out there. I'm sure he can find a group of people to say amen to that easily, right? But me, I wanted to be Bruce Lee. I specifically remember my cousin wanting to be Bruce Lee and going to martial arts, getting into martial arts because of Bruce Lee.
It's very saddening when you can literally only go back a couple generations and then it's like the documents just don't exist. There's no record. It's like, my family has completely been erased. In that same point too, in the time that we've been here, we've created an incredible culture, and we have so many things to be proud of. And I always reframe the narrative myself, and I speak of my ancestors that were enslaved as, doctors and healers. And it's like, we were taken because we were talented,
Right.
because we had skills to offer.
I disagree. Our African brothers and sisters shipped us off because we were available. They weren't shipping off doctors because they can use them. That don't even make any sense. Think about it. I can tell you right now, his idea of slavery was a bunch of white folks sailed to Africa, got off a boat, went into the interior and started snatching up people. That happened for a few years in the early 1400s, like before 1450, when those Portuguese brothers did just what I said, got off the boat, went to the interior trying snatching up people and caught all type of tropical diseases. They soon learned that wasn't going to work. So they set up shop with the Africans who were already trading slaves with each other. Now those African slave traders got new customers. That's how we got here, period. Africans sold other Africans to Europeans. When Europeans saw Africans on the coast, they were already slaves.
We built this country, so
And still building.
and still building. That's something to take pride in. So
Can the disagree a step forward?
So fat. Brendan, you're not fat. It's the
Come
shirt.
on. Sorry, y'all.
Look at Nate. His
Slavery didn't affect my family, but we did suffer a different type of slavery back home. Like we went to colonization. Like I am Bamileke. There was a massacre of Bamileke. You guys can look it up. They killed like more than 300,000 of my people because we didn't want to assimilate to the French culture. But it's still nothing compared to what you guys' ancestor been through,
I wouldn't want to minimize that pain though. What you just said hurt me. That 300,000 people were killed because they would not conform to the colonization of the French people. So that is just as painful and hurtful as the trauma that we suffered here in America.
I can't share the same experience that you have went through and your family, even though we also had our own type of slavery. We had apartheid at the time, where the Dutch people took over and they wanted to just have South Africa, Namibia, and I think other countries where we could only just speak Dutch. It's somehow still happening even now. There's like a place in South Africa where it's called Orania, and it's just Dutch people there. No Black person is even allowed there. So we still somehow feel that oppression even now, but it's nothing compared to what your ancestral history, has gone through. I'm somehow happy that you guys have forgiven it, even though you haven't forgotten it. Have you forgiven it? I mean, like your face, like.
But me personally, no, I haven't. But I want to work through the change. But no, I have not forgiven because it's a system that's still going on. And from what I'm hearing from you guys, there's a system that's still going on in Africa as well. And it's a war on us.
Racism is the main cause of poverty among Black people in America.
Racism is a very big issue that talking about it, I'm really trying to be careful to not say anything that will be insensitive. If opportunity is right here, they will give it to people of other race than African American and Africans too. So if there's a job that maybe have math requirement, I feel like they'll pick an Asian person, or they believe, oh, African Americans will not dress appropriate, so they will pick another person. They will always pick people that are not Black over people that are Black.
So notice what she says she feels, not that she knows, because as a person in the employment industry, where I'm paid to find people to go and work for other people, she doesn't know, in all due respect, what she's talking about. I know how she feels, and I know why she feels that way because of what they show you on TV. But you show me an African-American computer science engineer, unemployed. you ain't gonna find one unless he voluntarily quit, right? It's in 2023, 2018, that just wasn't the case. You get similarly situated minorities versus similarly situated Caucasians, that minorities win out. That's statistically true. Why is that? Because we've been trying, as a nation, trying to wrong the rights of history forever, but the narrative hasn't changed, right? Okay, let's keep going.
I also think, I think the crucial missing point when we talk about economic disparity, time is the most valuable currency. And if you have a stock that's the American dream is the stock, and during all that time, all that asset, the American dream was appreciating, and you're not allowed to take out business loans, you're not allowed to read, you're not allowed to write, you had to first fight to become 3/5 of a citizen, then you got Jim Crow, and then you got everything else.
All right, this is ridiculous how this lie has been perpetuated generation after generation. And I guarantee you that didn't start until the 1920s, but that's a different, that lie and the lie that Christopher Columbus somehow discovered America, that's another video. But fighting to be 3/5 of a man is a total lie. Now, I'm not disparaging this guy. He just doesn't know. And the reason he doesn't know is because the education system blatantly lies. So, okay, so it's 3/4 of a man thing was for representation purposes. So under his logic, if we were represented as 100% of a man, then the South would have that much more power. We'd probably still be in chains, right? The reason we're 3/5 was because people in the North were like, hey, they're not even citizens. You don't even treat them as human. You treat them as cattle or a piece of furniture. So you can't claim that they're human for census count and then claim they're cattle at the same time. If you're going to do that, we're going to start counting our chairs, silverware, outhouses as property too. I mean, as citizens too. And so that it was the 3/5 compromise. It had nothing to do with how you were looked at as a human being. It was all about the count for representation in Congress. Okay.
It's you're now having to buy in at a price so high because the time is irreparable. You can't get that back. One Black person today cannot, in one lifetime, achieve what generations of white families were able to do simply because they didn't have to compete with us to do it.
I, again, beg to disagree. I have, in my own life, I have family members who, had stores in Detroit. And what they do with those stores? Did they pass them along to their children? No. With their own choices, they decided to sell those stores off. Free country, free to do that. So it is possible. It's been possible. We've had Black people, Black individuals have had stores, hospitals, banks, ever since we were free to do so in the South, but you had these people doing that in the North during slavery. So this image that we have, which we get projected upon us by mainstream TV, that is heavily influenced by a particular party, political party, has us thinking that we're perpetual victims, nothing you can do about it but blame white guy. All right.
Yeah, I agree with you totally.
Yeah, I was thinking, just like you said, from a historical standpoint, we start with slavery, then that's centuries, generations of stolen labor, like you said. Then we get into Jim Crow, which is just an extension of that. Then we have redlining, we have mass incarceration, we have events like the bombing of Tulsa and Rosewood in Florida and all these different.
You can connect all those incidents to a political party, y'all. Seriously, directly. It ain't even like, I wonder if, no, this is direct stuff. Like, all right. From slavery, Jim Crow, to the Klan, to redlining, to Jim Crow laws. There was one party cheerleading that stuff and heavily influencing its development.
Examples of our wealth being decimated. And I don't say that to come from a defeatist or a victim mindset, but I think if we just have an honest conversation about history and what we've gone through when we've been here, racism is definitely a big part of that. And there are a lot of successful Black Americans, a lot of millionaires, a lot of, business owners, but they're exceptions for sure for a reason.
Why are they exceptions? Why is the white millionaire, is every white person you know a millionaire? Does every white person you know have a business? Does every white person you know have a home with a ton of equity in it? No. So why is it that a Black person who gets an education, who's born in a two-family household, gets an education, starts a business, fails, starts again, fails, starts again, finally hits the road running? Now he's not Black, he's exception. You don't do that for nobody else.
And there's a big difference between income and wealth. I would like to challenge the ideal that African Americans are lazy or that we don't have a good work ethic. I think there's this perception that, we're here, we're in America, how are we not doing better for ourselves? So.
Oh my goodness. Who is this?
You can grab your phone and two friends and make a film that will generate buzz.
I bet you could. But we're talking about this guy right here and what he's saying, this perception that African Americans are lazy, right? Don't want to work, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm gonna ask you, wherever you're at in this country, have a job to get done. Let's say you want to remodel your house, right? And let's say you're 35 years old, you got some money, you want to remodel half your house and all that entails. And you have a choice because this is America. You can hire, and they all gonna charge you the same. You can hire a white construction crew, a Black construction crew, a Mexican construction crew. Now, are you going to just close your eyes and just throw a dart and hope to hit the best one? No, you're going to analyze, like, okay, what's their experience? What's their ratings, right? That's what you're going to do. But before you even do that, your perception of that group of people, white people, Black people, Mexican people, has already been influenced. How has it been influenced? By media, by stories, by narratives, right? So the chances that a person just says, well, I'm just going to choose the black crew over the Mexican crew. It's not that simple, right? We are influenced by what we see on TV, the narratives we're told, the jokes we're told, and 9 times out of 10, this narrative, the perception of Black people is negative. So he's right in that the perception that Black people are lazy, there's truth to that. But whose fault is that? Is that if the construction crew doesn't get hired because the homeowner has this feeling that they might be a little lazy, it might take forever. It's not their fault. It's not that construction crew's fault. It's this image that's perpetually pushed onto Americans, whites, Black, and other, that is always negative. Now, I'll be the first to say, a lot of us don't help with that perception. What's that thing? CP time, colored people's time, showing up late for work, not doing your best academically. Oh, I had a young guy I was mentoring telling me, we don't get A's, bro. And this guy was a B student. But he was like, if I get A's, I'm gonna be kicked out of the hood or something. Other people see that in your behavior. This isn't a immutable trait you can't get rid of. These are social values and beliefs that we hold on and endear, right? It's cool to be late. It's cool not to show up for work. It's cool not to work, right? Other people see that. All right, let's keep going.
I thought I was going to be the only one staying. I was going to be like, oh, I'm about to be like Kanye West. But okay, there's a lot of things we can use as an excuse to hold us back, to not to reach our potential. But it's up to us to look past that. Like me coming from Africa, I came here to better my life, my family. I'm the only one here. And since I have been here, there's a lot of bad things that happened to me. There's also a lot of good things that happened to me.
In my last video, I said, you know, hey, there's probably somebody out there that's like, you know, you went to college, you got this useless degree in African American studies or women's studies or philosophy, whatever. You did the thing. You went to college, you did what you're supposed to do, but now your degree is not marketable. Your values and your decisions have led you to this choice, and now you're just not at the living standards you want. What do you do now? Right? Well, those standards and those beliefs and values got you to that point. Maybe going forward, you adjust some of those beliefs and standards. And I was like, and how do you do that? If you weren't taught this as a child, how do you get these value systems, belief systems that most immigrants come here with? Right? You ain't gonna find it on TV. You ain't gonna find it in hip hop music, right? You just not. So what I suggested was find you an immigrant, make friends, and talk to them. And this is why. He just told you why, right? A lot of bad stuff happened to me, but I'm going forward.
As African or African American, we need to like look past like racism and like just focus on our own goal. Like, what do we want to achieve? But we need to stop using the word racism when we don't get something or when something don't go our way. Just keep trying, you know.
So let me jump in real quick. No disrespect, but racism exists and I have to acknowledge it. And I can't just ignore it. But what I can do is not buy into the system. You know, if I want to do something, let me be the entrepreneur. What I believe happened in the 1960s is that we started looking for equal rights to be.
Stuff like this make my skin crawl, dude. You got a brother here who's saying, look, I don't care about racism. It's out there. I know. I'm going to move forward. Oh, no, don't do that. You just don't buy into this. You got to acknowledge racism, but just don't buy into the system, which is basically like, I'm Black. The system is made up for whites, which I've heard this argument 1,000 times, so you're probably going to say it. And we just have to reject that system, right? But this system has done more for people than any other system, including Black people, including the newly emancipated, right? So and the people who died in the Civil War for our freedoms, including free Blacks in the North, free whites in the North, right? So this attitude that no, you have to basically see racism before anything else is the most dangerous thing floating around the African American community. It has kept us down from, it's kept us from, I guess, evolving as a community since the 60s. We've been going down since the 60s, right?
Be equal with other people. And what we stopped doing, and I heard you talk about Tulsa, we stopped using the Black-owned businesses. Now, because you guys got to understand, the Fair Housing Act in 1968, I'm 5 years old. That's when we could move off the east side of LA and move into other subcultures. So what I wanted to do at 8 years old was go to IHOP. I didn't want to go to the ma and pa restaurant anymore. I want to go to, let's go eat at the hotels. So what we did is stop supporting each other and started supporting corporate America. So the racism plays a major part, but we don't have to buy into it.
Now, I like what he said there. Support Black business. But then I get into this question like, well, what is it about Black business that you're supporting? Are you just supporting immutable trait? Like this person got, you know, hair like mine and skin tone like mine, but the service is awful, right? Like the crowd is horrible. The music they play is just, I can't, you know, concentrate or whatever. I'm being really ridiculous here. But he just admitted, now that you can go roam, basically, and go where you want to go, it's natural. People, well, I couldn't go over here yesterday. Now they let me go. So now I'm going to go. Well, why was it that when Black people exited Black businesses to go integrate in white businesses, did they not come back? These are individual choices, right? Racism may influence some of your choices, but at the end of the day, these are your choices. These are our choices. And if in a free market society, in quotes, you have a choice who to go to, who not to go to. And in a free market society, there's competition. So you can't just look at it as, I'm gonna go to this black cigar shop, even though their cigars cost more, right? It's up to the cigar shop owner to somehow figure out a way to get cheaper cigars. Then guess what? Guess who's coming to his shop? Not just black people. People who want cheaper cigars. They come in all colors. All right, let's keep going.
I've been waiting to disagree with you, my brother. I'm waiting patiently. The thing is, even though I want to disagree with you, I get where you're coming from. When I see Black people talking about racism, all that stuff, I'm like, what is wrong with these people? You guys have food, you have EBT, all these things, and you're here shouting about somebody is racist too. Just leave that person and move on. I feel that way. Like, why are they always like complaining? But when Black Lives Matters started happening, like, I sat down, I said, I need to actually know why these people are pained. And if we look at the history, what they've done to them, like if you actually sit down, watch some documentaries, how they were maltreated, I don't think if I'm actually Bonnie, I will forgive those people. I don't.
Now, I want to read between the lines what she was saying. Every immigrant, I don't care where you're going, like in my last video, bums don't immigrate, right? You got to be ambitious to leave everything you know, your family, your friends, opportunities you may have at home, which are more guaranteed than opportunities abroad. You got to sometimes learn a new language, new cultural norms, all this stuff. You're going to be lonely. You're not going to, unless you come in here with millions, you know, you might be poor for a little while, whatnot. So bums don't just, hey man, I'm tired of being homeless in Bangladesh. I'm going to save up all my money as a homeless person, get an airplane ticket as a homeless person, figure out a way to get an address for a passport as a homeless person. You get what I'm saying, right? So you have a certain mindset coming here as an immigrant, anywhere. When I immigrated to Japan, I ain't just haphazardly fall into Kyoto, right? It was a lot of stuff, a lot of hurdles, but I was ambitious, I was focused, I was determined. And I'm not patting myself on the back. A lot of people had that same ambition, focus, and determination to become NBA stars, to become lawyers, to become doctors, to become business owners. You just have to have that. And you can be a migrant, like, oh, I'm in Honduras and they told me there was free healthcare in America, so I'm just gonna walk north. That's a migrant. I ain't talking about them. I'm talking about immigrant, where you go through the legal channels and you have to hold yourself to that country's standards and let that country know that not only will you be able to take care of yourself, you won't be a burden on that country, right? So this was her, that was her mindset before she got indoctrinated by all this crap you see from mainstream TV, including Hollywood, comics now, all this stuff, that Black people are perpetual victims of racism. You should be mad, and I'm amazed that you've forgiven everybody. Now, with that said, is the history she learning wrong? Meaning, is it all a lie? Like there was no slavery, there was no Jim Crow law, what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma didn't happen. It's all true, right? But that truth has been massaged, it has been manipulated so that there's a perpetual divide between Blacks and whites in America to our detriment. Yeah, you can say, well, I can't get a job because I'm Black. No, I'm talking about in the community. The community's detriment. Our population is the same percentage-wise since slavery. And what helps that? Like, we were on a trajectory to be twice as many African Americans by this point, but now we're the same, 11 to 13%. Meanwhile, the Hispanics came through and they're like 17%, right? I can give you one reason why. Planned Parenthood, who came with that? The eugenics, who supported eugenics? The Democrats. They pushed this narrative of victimization on us from birth. And then as soon as immigrants come to this country, they get that message too. So if you're not African American, what do? If you're like from Yugoslavia or from Finland, you start to feel sorry for African Americans. You start to lower your standards for what to expect from African Americans. And if you are from Africa, you do the same thing because you're not African American, right? And if you're African American, since birth, you've been told you're a victim by the victimizer. This is all indoctrination, right? And we got to figure out how to stop this.
Okay, it's easier for us Africans that were raised in Africa to feel like they're complaining because we were raised through struggle. Like I barely even have water, and you have water, you're complaining. But then it's not about the basic necessity or about how we are raised. We are raised like, I don't want to say way better. We might not have resources, but there's some way, like our own people will not look down on us or put us behind. So it's in their nurture that way. Like they just can't overlook it. And if you sit down and watch everything that the forefathers have been through for you, I changed my mind. No, they need to be angry. However, they should still move forward.
I mean,
you can be angry. Like I said, you ain't getting rid of racism. So that's a dream. And I say it all the time. There's a group of Japanese people called Barakumen. They look just like Japanese people. They speak the same language. You can't, if it was one to the right and to the left, you wouldn't know which one is a Barakumen. They're discriminated against for 400 years. So if these people are discriminating against people who look just like them and wouldn't know there's no way for you to physically know that they're Barakumen. You have to go into the courthouse records, go down their family tree a couple of generations to figure it out, and then boom, oh, you're Barakumen, I don't like you, right? You can't marry my daughter. Right? That exists in a homogeneous society. So in America, a heterogeneous society, you're going to always have idiots who don't like someone because they don't look like them. But how much of an influence should those idiots have on your life? Right? If you're sitting in a classroom, being a jackass, it ain't because a Klansman is outside your window talking about, I dare you to learn algebra. Nah, those are your choices, your beliefs, and your choices and beliefs are being influenced by a lot of what you see on TV, a lot of stories, a lot of comedy, and a lot of that is supported, again, by a particular party. And no, I'm not a Republican.
We have police brutality back home too.
True.
We have, like, if you go to Cameroon and then you see how that police officer treat us, and they're black just like us, you're not even gonna believe it, you know. And in Cameroon we have this. Have you guys heard the word like tribalism? So
yeah, it has.
So we do get oppressed too. And
I agree.
So when I'm saying like we need to like look past that, I'm not saying forget what happened to you guys or me. At the end of the day, we cannot just sit.
It's a mindset. He's not a victim. He doesn't see himself as a victim. When he jumps out of the sheets in the morning, his identity is not victim. He doesn't see the world through the lenses of a victim. He's not viewing the world through the lenses of racism, right?
And just grieve on the past. We have to be able to move on, but not forget. If I could choose a place to live, it will obviously be my country. I love my country, but right now, my country is not the best choice for me. There's a little genocide going on in Cameroon right now. So many innocent lives are being taken. If I was still in my country, the opportunity that I have here, I would not have those opportunities there.
Hip hop reinforces stereotypes about the Black community.
In South Africa, we have our own version of hip hop. So we call it Kwaito. So they would rap in our own language in we call it Venek. So back home, it kind of did reinforce some stereotypes because now when you go out in the world, people will just classify you under one group. And growing up, also looking at American entertainment, looking at the hip hop that's done here, I'm like, oh, well, you're rapping about drugs, you're rapping about this. Of course it's going to happen. Of course you're going to go to jail. But getting older, you see the culture as well of hip hop. I had to understand that there's a culture within that.
I was alive when hip hop started, and it was during a time where people rapped about what they saw. what they wanted in life. And then it became where people rapped about what they had been through, what they had gotten over, used to sell drugs, used to hurt people, but now this is who they are. And I think it's gotten into now, and in our day and age now, it's where people are glorifying and wanting to pretend that these are the things that they do on a daily basis when it's not. So it went from storytelling to now really it's truly storytelling, but it's unhealthy for our culture.
I love what Skip just said there, and I'm gonna try and be brief on this point. I remember a time where there was no hip hop, right? There was no rap, right? I remember when, anyway, but the content of hip hop music, rap music was, first and foremost, it was about the rapper. I'm the best ever. I'm this, I'm that, whatever. But it was, and then it branched out to, like you said, what people saw in the community. I was hanging out at the party, blah, 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 blah. And then it started to get into what was called conscious rap, with a lot of rappers talking about, hey, we need to stop this violence. This was around the time the crack game popped off, right? Self-destruction was a big hit, right? We don't own the media. We do a lot in the media, but we don't own it. So although hip hop grew like rocket fuel on positivity, once it got to the mainstream, it got taken over, and those positive messages weren't being pushed. It wasn't like it wasn't good music. They just wasn't being pushed, right? And so now you got all this negativity being pushed at you, and you got generations of kids under me and under Skip. That's all you know is negativity in hip hop. And that influences you. I'll never forget this. I'll be brief. Never forget this. Back in the day, I had this red truck, lowrider, sound system in the back, and I was listening to Ice Cube all day because, hey, that's what I did. Like, I just rode around Detroit, blasting Ice Cube and pissing off senior citizens. I did turn my music off at the lights. But with that said, I noticed one day, at the end of the day, I was just pissed. I was in a bad mood. And I was one of the only people who blasted like Sade. Like, I'll be going through the hood blasting Sade, right? At the end of that day, Sade, Regina Bell, sometimes Anita Baker, but I feel better. So this is not to diss Cube. I love Cube, right? But that negativity was being pushed onto our community. Our community wasn't strong enough to fight back. And I always say, I always ask this question, do you think you would come up with NWA if all 5 of those members had dads in the house? I don't think you would. I'll let you marinate on that. But I don't think we would have an NWA if we had all five of those boys, had dads in the home. I know old Shay Jackson had his dad there, but I know Eazy-E didn't, Dre didn't. I don't think Ren and Yella, I don't think their dads were in the house either. But anyway, around that time, when we were growing up, our age, that's when the fathers were being kicked out of the homes and the mothers was relying on welfare as a substitute father. All right.
So on my radio, and all I'm hearing is, I put a bullet in it, something. Like, I'm like, eh? That's what you would do? No, like, and then it's like, it's all about like talking about female body type, the booty, the thing, like, don't talk about my booty like that. So I don't want to listen to something that portray me as a female that way, or something that is talking about how you put bullets in my head. Like, if you actually do not come to America and see for yourself, you will think that most African Americans are carrying guns around and they just shoot randomly, or they just grab your ass or something like that. That's the way the music portray them. And music is a very important element in our society because it influences a lot of people, both young and adult. And then
she's tying this back into what he was talking about earlier about this image of Black people being lazy, blah, blah, blah. Well, look, man, I can go on YouTube right now. No, I don't have TikTok, but if you go on Instagram right now, you're going to see some Black people beating up probably some white people or beating each other up, right? This ain't new, but this is real time, real life. We had this coming down the pipeline MTV and all that stuff, music videos portraying this. And if you're a Japanese person and all you know about Black people, because there is no Black people in Japan, is what you see on TV, that's the assumption you're going to make. And it's a reasonable assumption. If I told you, if you grew up and everybody told you every snake is poisonous, and you see a snake, why are you going to run up and touch it? Of course, it could be a gardener snake, but if all you know is snakes are poisonous, you're going to avoid the shit like the plague. Why take the risk, right?
They kind of see all those stuff and they act like that, even though that's not what they really want to be. They act like that and behave like that. Like if all these rappers are your role model, then you want to be like them. You want to be cool too. So in the end, it's about like the people that are packaging the music, and sometimes about trend is what people want to hear.
The American dream is only for white people.
I believe that the American dream is only for white people because it says equal. And when we talk about equal, there's no equality between the 1%, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Trumps, and the people who really run the media and things of that nature. So for Black people growing up.
So he just basically pushed all Black people out of the 1%. You're in the 1% if you're making over $500K a year. So every basketball, football player, you know, a decent dentist, a decent doctor, probably anybody with good investments, are in the 1%. So it's it's what you believe, not what you know, right? And what you believe is you're hearing from CNN, MSNBC, Hollywood movies, hip hop, is all this negative, stereotypical, anecdotal evidence of how oppressed Black people still are, right? And I don't know Skip, but I'm just based off of his viewpoints. If he brings it up, maybe he will. Like, I'm assuming he's not a doctor, a lawyer, or a professional, right? I'm assuming that maybe he had some run-ins with the law and was treated unfairly, right? I'm assuming that at the end of this video, we're not going to hear him say, I've made choices that put me in a situation where I'm not satisfied with where I'm at. I need to take responsibilities for my past, present, so that I can have a better future. This is an assumption I'm making, but I know people like this. This was me, right? This is probably you. It's a mindset. Nobody can stop you but you.
Up in America and living in America, we could become rich, we could become wealthy, but we are not on the equal playing field of white America. The system of white supremacy, which is in the law enforcement, which is in the judicial system, which is in the prison industrial association.
This system of white supremacy is so stupid. It's stupid. Just think about what you're saying. We've had a Black president twice. We've had 3 Black Supreme Court justices, right? What system are you talking about? In Detroit, every politician is Black pretty much. Now there's a white mayor there. But Coleman Young was the mayor of Detroit forever. Forever. Then you had Kwame Kilpatrick. The chief of police in Oakland is Black. The mayor of San Francisco is Black. All these democratic cities are ran by Black people, and you still talking about systematic white stuff. No, these are just excuses that are hand-fed to you by the media. Look, you can't be what all you can be. The white person can. Have anyone ever been to Appalachia? Has anyone ever been to Southern Ohio? Right? Why does this image that all white, you're born white, so therefore, it's Tuesday, it's my turn to be a NASA astronaut. Like, what the hell? Come on, people. You gotta stop buying into this victimization stuff.
Also in the politics, we are not equal in any of those terms.
When I was back there, when you were speaking, I started thinking, like, could we ever actually as Black people have the American dream here in America. And I don't know if we really can, I'm trying to be careful with my words, but I do think there needs to be a degree of separatism. Like Black people, we really need to have our own to fully take part.
What I want to know, they didn't define what the American dream is. It's some image, right? And I'm pretty sure that image that they have is, a family on a white picket fence, stable job, and blah, blah, blah. And they're assuming, and being happy, and they're assuming that they can't attain that. But Black people have been attaining that before slavery ended in the North, where Blacks were free. You have a right to, what's it called? Pursue happiness. You don't have a right to be happy, right? The Constitution doesn't guarantee you a right to be happy. It guarantees you a right to pursue happiness. And the government should not, the Constitution is all about what the government shouldn't do, the Bill of Rights basically, should not impede your right to pursue happiness, right? But we've been fed this crap that, white people, look at them. They're all, as soon as they're born, as soon as they drop out of the womb, they're skipping through dandelion fields or rose gardens, sucking on lollipops. They don't have no problem. Have you seen Philadelphia recently? Have you seen, and this is anecdotal stuff, but it's more zombies hooked on this stuff. There's more of them I'm seeing than white people. In San Francisco, the homeless, man, looks like it's ridiculous. This has nothing to do with skin color, right? So again, we have bought into this victimization mentality that only hurts, I ain't gonna say it only hurts Black people because it's spreading out into the wider population, but it has a detrimental effect on Black Americans. The newly emancipated, meaning those slaves who were emancipated back in 1865, would slap the shit out of all of us for throwing away the opportunities that we have or taking for granted the opportunities that we have. And viewing this country the way we do, especially after having a non-white president twice. And every major metropolitan is ran by Black people. Whether it's ran good or not is bad. And the reason why it's not ran good in 9 out of 10 cases is because of the ideology, value system, and beliefs of those running those cities, which is not capitalistic in nature. It is socialistic in nature. Is that a word, socialistic?
Part in that dream.
This is their system.
Yeah,
Why would we dream of being equal in a system that wasn't designed for us?
Now, he's absolutely right. And you might be saying, Andre, what are you talking about? This system was not designed for people who were slaves. It was designed for people who were free. That includes the free Black people who voted to ratify the Articles of Confederation before this country was founded. Black people voted for that in the North. Slaves don't vote. You can go all the way back to Greece, Rome, wherever you want to go, Africa, slaves don't vote. I mean, if they do, that's the exception to the norm. So he's absolutely right. If he wants to take on the moniker of my ancestors were slaves, so therefore I'm a slave, right? He's right. This system isn't made for slaves. It's made for people who are free, who are willing to be free. And what that means, what does that mean? You free to go out there and die, bro. Ain't nobody gonna take care of you. You free to go out there and try and make a way on your own. No one's gonna help you, right? That's what your ancestors did when they were emancipated with nothing, right? But that's what the free Blacks did before emancipation. Well, they ain't like Black folks back then either. But you saw 12 years of slaves. Some people did, some people didn't like Black people. But those Black people still had to raise their family. There was no social welfare back then, but they did it, right? Freedom requires responsibility. Individual freedom requires individual responsibility. Slaves did not have freedom, nor, more importantly, did they have responsibility. And that leads back to the video I did last week, immigrants without agency. All right, let him finish talking.
The American dream, at least the way that I define it, is, freedom of opportunity, freedom to choose what I want to do, freedom to acquire wealth the same way that anybody else can. Obviously, we're fighting the tides of time on that and our circumstances, but it's hard because it's hard to honor that, but then also want more for myself. And I think that as Black people, we're always teeter-tottering on that line of like, well, am I American? Like, do I get the American dream, or do we just tear all this down and build something new? White people are not the only people entitled to the American dream ever. Yeah. And I think that that's why we're all here, because our ancestors made it so that we can stand here and pursue that American dream.
I wouldn't have been here if it meant that it was not for everyone. I wouldn't have even entered America. I feel like not just African, but other people as well in different countries. And from what I have seen, I've seen other people, even Africans and African Americans, succeeding in their own way. And that's why I feel like you said, you can interpret the American dream in a different way, whatever industry or whatever it is that you're focusing on, because there is a level of opportunity there. There is some way that you can be successful. Talking about Trevor Noah, who took over The Daily Show, it wouldn't have been possible for him coming in as an African. He got his American dream. It made us as well, other Africans, believe that it is possible.
The American dream writes his check. So he gets to have wealth or whatever it is that he's experiencing, but the American dream is the one who writes his check, not him.
So what? Like, really, dude? Like, come on, man. Like, I don't. Even if you're successful, even if you attain what you want to attain, even if you reach the goals you want to reach, there's always somebody who says you could do it better if you were white. I swear I've heard this all my life. Dude, if you were white, you would have got that promotion faster. How the hell you know that? I mean, people say this like it's, the sky is blue. They literally believe this deep down in their heart, that this society is literally set up against them as an individual and as a community. Now, I will agree, there are political policies that we champion as a people, as a community. The effects are truly negative against our community. But the Constitution, well, I don't know nowadays, but it's meant to be colorblind, right? It's a mindset. I don't care, man. Unless there's a Klansman burning a cross in my yard, and trust me, I believe in the Second Amendment. Racism isn't something you should wake up with every day. Like, Linus and Charlie Brown, Linus and out of Charlie Brown with his blanket. It keeps you back. It's a weight. Your view of the world is so defeating.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But do you see how we would put it as he had his American dream, even though someone writes his check?
Thank you.
But for him, or for some of us looking at it on the other side, that's his American dream, because his goal was to get there. Biggest cultural shock I saw coming here was definitely the lifestyle, because the lifestyle I saw of America, especially Los Angeles, was portrayed as a very rich lifestyle. And of course, I came here as a student, and coming here, living here, and seeing the reality of it, seeing different homeless people, disadvantaged people, was really a cultural shock for me, because I didn't expect to see that. And I guess also the way people were handling each other, because coming in as an African, I thought people were together. But since being here, I saw that there was a huge divide, or there is still a huge divide within the African-American community themselves.
If he had stayed in South Africa, would he have the same opportunity that he had here?
No.
Like, so corporate is writing his check, but like us growing up, the reason we move here is because we don't have it better back home. Like for me, I'm the first person ever in my family in America. Everybody else is back home. Everybody's depending on me. All of them, my mom, she's dying to come here. Like she willing to do anything just for her to be in America. So for me, when I look at those like little things, I'm like, yeah, American dream is for everybody, you know? Like, yeah, we might not have the same opportunity as the white people, but there's still that little chance that a lot of us back home are willing to take just to get here.
Peekaboo, Paul Stamets here. Welcome to the enchanted forest of host defense. Here,
I trust law
All
enforcement.
right, this is getting long, so I'm gonna skip ahead.
Obsessed with race in America.
Basically, I'm
I think that word
assuming
obsessed is
most
such an
don't
interesting word.
trust
And
law
I think
enforcement.
that the way that that question is framed is almost as if it's like the onus is on us, like we're obsessed with race too much. Like, no, white people are obsessed with race in this country. They've made their laws based on it. They've cast us out because of it. They've like destroyed entire groups of people because of it. So, I mean,
Who is he talking about and when is he talking about it? The outlook on life is victim. Man, and I can see this clearly, and again, not to my horn, I'm just stating facts. I live outside of this country, and America is absolutely obsessed with race. All Black comics, 80% of their jokes are about race, right? Black TV shows, I don't even need to watch them to know what the plot is. If I see a leading woman as a sister in a movie, I already know what it's about. I already know what she's about to say, right? I mean, it's all about race. And now that they've got white people focusing on race, it's just made it worse, right? You just get people who had expectations for all their Americans. Let's say we all were in the army, Black, white, Hispanic, whatever, right? You're in the trenches doing your thing. You expect the others in your trenches to have a certain standard, meaning bravery, agility, right? Good eyesight to shoot, stuff like that. Now, during Christmas vacation, when everybody's on a break from the war, you get somebody to walk through there and tell everybody to feel sorry for Black people. Now, when fighting resumes, you don't hold your brothers at the same level of accountability. That's what they're doing with all this white guilt stuff, right? With all they call awfuls. I heard the other day, affluent white liberal women or something like that. And it's true. You know, all these participation trophy generation kids have now had kids and they feel sorry for everybody. And if you Black and apparently your distant relative was a slave on this continent, San Francisco wants to give you $5 million. What sense does this make? It makes no sense because there are a lot of Black people who own slaves. So you're going to get, like, let's just say I trace my ancestry back, which has been done, and I know who the last slave was in my family. So give me $5 million, pass it to me, right? But there are some Black people out there, right, whose ancestors were slave owners. And I ain't talking about they owned their wife. They were commercial slave owners. And there are some white people today whose great-grandfather was a Black woman. And you can't tell at all. And she was a slave. And now she, you know, for the purposes of this generation's victimization cult, she's eligible for some type of reparation or whatnot. I don't know if she was in San Francisco, if she'd get the $5 million because she hasn't been claiming she's Black for whatever amount of time. But anyway, you get my point. This stuff has a negative detriment on a particular group of people that it presents itself as we're fighting for Blacks, right? Its intentions are, the way you hear it, is we want to help Black people, but the effects are negative. Negative. Think about this, man. How many, The incarceration rates for blacks prior to 1970. The two-parent household rate, children born to two-parent households prior to 1970. We were black in 1970, right? The abortion rate, obviously it was illegal in a lot of places, but it's like more, there's a statistic out there, I think since 1970 or 80, whatever it is, it's ridiculous. More black people have been aborted than born. This is negative. These intentions have a negative effect on black people. And who's always championing these policies? There's one particular party. And that party has always had two things in common since its inception. It wanted to keep blacks in chains. Shortly after, in 1832, and shortly after its inception, they had the biggest group of socialists. Socialists attached themselves to the Democratic Party, right? And so, perfect example, the National Democratic Socialist Party of Germany, NAZI, for those who don't know, they were in cahoots with the Wilson administration on how to suppress Jewish people in Germany. This is a direct line to that party. Now, you say, but Barack, right? Values and beliefs. Don't look at the skin color. Values and belief is socialist. And in a lot of ways, at this point, the progressive arm of the Democratic Party are a bunch of Marxists. Now, a lot of y'all don't know what Marxist is because they don't teach that, because who controls the education system? Democrats, right? Especially in urban areas. They don't want you to know what Marxism is. They want you to think that Marxism is fascism or white supremacy. They flip the terminology around to confuse everybody, whatever. But anyway, I'm gonna end it here because this is run long. Check out this video. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. And I'm in with this. Yes, racism is real. You can't control what other people think. You can't control what other people do. But you are an accumulation of your actions, beliefs, and values. And if right now you are not where you want to be, if you're a single mom with 2 kids, Santa Claus ain't dropped them kids down the chimney for you. You had to have a certain action, in most cases, to come up with them kids. Now, did you choose the right father? Did you choose some knucklehead who was selling drugs and was showing that bling bling, but didn't show any type of character, right? He showed you nothing as far as being dependable later in life or nothing, but hey, he had them Jordans on and he looked good. Right now, I got 2 kids by this dude and he in jail, or he just not around, or he got 12 kids by somebody else. You decided to do that, right? If you got a degree that's not marketable, you decided not to check the trends of what's marketable 4 years after you get out of college. I'm guilty of these things, right? But what you can't do is blame somebody other than you. First, unless you got an actual claim, then take them to court. First, you got to look internally. What did I do to get me here? And if you say, well, man, I did everything right, but I'm just not satisfied. I'm 18, I'm just not satisfied, especially if you're 18, then you need to include some of your parents' decisions in there too. Now, most of the time they did what they can do, but their decisions affect you, right? Now, think about it. Bill Gates, you know what his daughter did, right? You don't even know who his daughter is, do you? No, because Bill Gates made so much money, she ain't got to worry about finances for the rest of her life or her kids' life. She ain't had to do nothing but not mess up. My parents wasn't Bill Gates. My parents did what they thought was right, and that influenced me on the road I am, right? Did I do some things my parents told me not to do? Yes, we all do. Fortunately, some of those mistakes and pitfalls weren't fatal, meaning I didn't land in jail, I didn't get killed. But it's a lot of us who do land in jail or did get killed because we didn't listen to our parents. But anyway, rambling here. internalize first, then look outwardly. And 9 times out of 10, you will see it was something you chose to do that put you in the bad situation you're in right now or the good situation you're in right now. Ignore this racism stuff to the degree possible. Now, if somebody's burning a cross in your yard, you got a Second Amendment right. Utilize it if you feel threatened. If you're not getting hired specifically because someone says, I'm not hiring a Black person, that's your lottery ticket. Sue the hell out of them. You ain't got to work no more. I wish somebody would not hire me because I'm Black. I'm suing everybody because I can. All right, y'all. Peace. I'm out. Like, share, and subscribe. Have a good weekend. Happy Thomassowell Friday. I'm out.
I just wanted to remind you guys to check out thebrokecapitalist.com. You'll find some awesome books there, including a historical fantasy fiction series that I star in, called Ideas in Blood.